Hi everyone, this is Mix from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we'll be taking a look at the top 5 basketball shoes of 2021. Before we get started, if you do like the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then I'll also be leaving a link to the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group in the description box, because that is a place where we talk about sneakers and basketball quite a bit. And it's also where we have the SNBPH Steel Cabinet, where I take some shoes that I no longer use, or some shoes that I've reviewed in the past, and I put them up for bidding at way below market value. Then if you haven't already yet, please do make sure to sub to the channel because it really does help us out quite a lot. Then with that being said, let's take a look at the top 5 basketball shoes of 2021. 2021 was definitely such a great year for hoop shoes. I mean, there were basketball shoes from every brand that were really killer on court, and in some ways it kinda didn't really matter what brand you chose or what shoe you chose because there was a good chance you were getting a good one. Of course, there were a few disappointing shoes, but they were definitely few and far between. And with that being said, it did take me a long time to think about my top 5 because like I said, there were so many good shoes this year and not a lot of duds. So like I also said a while ago, we will be taking a look at the top 5 best basketball shoes of 2021, but I will also sprinkle in my most disappointing shoe of 2021, as well as my best retro of 2021 as well. And before we get into the actual list, just a quick disclaimer, most of the shoes on the list are actually not in my possession anymore, and that's because I put them up for bidding on the SNBPH Steel Cabinet, and that's not because I didn't like them, because of course I did, they're in my top 5. But as you can see, I do have quite a bit of sneakers, so just having that steel cabinet where I put it up for bidding at way below the market price is just, I guess, my way of giving back to my loyal subscribers. So like I said, if you do want to buy some of my shoes for way below retail, then just hop in and join the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group. Then now for the top 5 basketball shoes of 2021, I do have some honorable mentions, and those would be the Kyrie 8, the PG5, and the Curry 8. The Kyrie 8 does have a zoom strobel in the forefoot, really nice materials on the back half, the iconic curved outsole, good traction, and good fit. The only reason it didn't make the cut is that it's a little bit more susceptible to dust, but it's definitely a really good shoe, which is why it's on the honorable mention list. The Nike PG5 is an awesome shoe as well. You have that full-length air strobel, you have the Kobe 9 traction pattern at the bottom, you have a good fitting upper, and good support. The only thing that keeps it from going in the top 5 is that the materials felt pretty cheap, but they do get the job done, especially once you break it in. Then moving on to the Curry 8, I know that Curry 9 already released in some places, but it hasn't yet here, which is why the 8 is on the list and not the 9. But with the Curry 8, you had that flow cushion, and even though it's not like the most beefy cushion, it's definitely adequate, and it's also pretty smooth, stable, and comfy. You also have really amazing traction, a good fit, and some nice materials. The only reason why the Curry 8 wasn't able to crack the top 5 is that I feel like it lacked a little bit of support, but it's definitely not gonna be an issue for everyone. Then now at number 5, we have the Nike Zoom GT Cut. The Nike Zoom GT Cut was just such a pleasant surprise because I really didn't know what to expect since it was a new line from Nike. It also looked pretty wild because it was a low-cut shoe that was super close to the ground. And if you didn't know any better, you might have thought it was like a tennis shoe or maybe a running shoe of some sort, but it was definitely such a beast on court. You have a nice and comfortable upper with some neoprene all around, and it was also super light and breathable. You also had a super low to the ground zoom strobel setup, and since it was a zoom strobel unit, not only was it low to the ground, but you also felt super bouncy and responsive. You also had a nice and grippy outsole that surprisingly was pretty durable. You also had great fit, really good support, and a really nice aesthetic as well. The only reason why it is at number 5 and not higher is that the other shoes have slightly better traction than this, and it also is a pretty expensive shoe. I think it might be the most expensive or maybe second to the one in number 4, so that's definitely a slight knock on the Zoom GT Cut. However, I do think you can get them on sale, so definitely check them out if you can find a discount, because this shoe is just absolutely fun to play in, and it actually feels like a Kobe shoe that's just a little bit more bouncy. Then moving on to number 4, we have the Jordan 36. I did have really high expectations of the Jordan 36 because the 35 was pretty good, and the Jordan 34 was just absolutely amazing. I mean, the 34s are probably the best Jordan to play in ever, and I'm happy to say that even though I did have super high expectations, the Jordan 36 actually was able to meet them. The traction on the Jordan 36 was one of the best this year. I mean, it's a super aggressive herringbone, and it's just gonna be such a reliable outsole because this sticks to the court like glue, whether it's clean or whether it's super dirty. Then for the cushion, you do have a full-length Phylon midsole, full-length zoom strobel unit, and separate bottom-loaded zoom units on the heel and the forefoot. That is definitely quite an abundance of cushion, and you definitely start to feel it once you break it in, and it just feels amazing underfoot. I mean, you have that bounce back from the zoom strobel unit, the impact protection from the Phylon as well as the bottom-loaded zoom, and it also feels pretty low to the ground considering how much cushion you have in the shoe. The upper is also quite amazing because I mean it's not the most padded upper in the world, but it's definitely super thin, light, and breathable. And even if it is quite thin, the threads are just super strong on the shoe, and that upper actually has good support and good durability. You also have a few more sort of premium touches with the synthetic leather on the ankle and tongue. And for the rest of what makes the 36 really great, you have really nice support, a really nice one-to-one fit, and a super slick aesthetic that mixes a futuristic vibe with some classic hits from the Jordan 6. I really was tempted to put this shoe at number 3 because I enjoyed it so much, but I had to knock it down to 4 just because of the price. I mean, it is pretty expensive, and also because of the weird issue I was running into where it was sort of like pulling my socks down. I'm not really sure if that was only for me, but if there are some of you watching this video that have had that same issue, then it might actually be more common than I thought. Then moving on to number 3, we have the Nike KD14. The KD14 is arguably one of the best KD shoes to play basketball in, and it was really knocking on that number 1 spot for most of the year. The traction on the KD14 is definitely a solid A. I mean, it grips really well, and it doesn't really matter whether the court is clean or dirty or has a poor finish to it and hasn't been maintained. It's gonna grip no problem. Then for the cushion on the KD14, you have a full-length Cushlon midsole and a full-length zoom strobel as well. The zoom strobel provides that responsiveness and bouncy feeling, and you also have that Cushlon that is super soft and plush underfoot, which really gives you a nice balance between that bouncy, responsive feeling and that slightly mushy and soft feeling. Both the Cushlon and the zoom strobel also go full length, so it doesn't really matter whether you land on your forefoot or if you do a heel strike, it's always gonna have you covered. Then for the upper on the KD14, it could have been a lot more premium, but it does really get the job done and is actually quite soft once it breaks in. And it's also nice and padded, so if you like a more padded feel, then it's definitely the shoe for you. It also fits pretty well and a lot better than some of the older KDs, and your support is also really good, which is impressive given the fact that you do have quite a bit of cushion. The only reason why I didn't put the KD14 in my top 2 is that the aesthetic definitely takes some time to get used to, and some people never really grow to like it, so you know, that's definitely a part of it. And then the other thing is that I did have problems with the strap because it was a sort of rubbery plastic strap, so if you do have a high arch or slightly wide feet, it could definitely get quite annoying because that's what happened to me. I mean, I really did enjoy playing in it, but just having that strap kind of flap around every time I played because I have a high instep was just something that got really old really fast. Then moving on to number 2, we have the Adidas Trae Young 1. I definitely do hate Trae Young because I am a Sixer fan, but I can't deny that his first signature shoe from Adidas is an absolute banger. For me, it is almost a perfect guard shoe because it is super low to the ground, you have really nice traction, a really nice fit, and a really low cut as well, which promotes a lot of mobility. The traction on the Trae Young 1 is actually just second to the number 1 spot because it really does grip the court like crazy, and if you are a fan of like shoes that squeak, it definitely has a pretty good squeak to it as well. It does make use of an aggressive herringbone pattern in the forefoot and a radial pattern at the heel, and that's definitely a recipe for success, as proven by the Trae Young 1. You also have a super low to the ground and responsive cushion, which was actually super comfy underfoot, which was definitely the biggest surprise for me because when you see the Trae Young 1, it just looks so low, and then when I took it out and tested it and really got to break it in, that full-length light strike did feel really nice, and the best part was that boost puck in the heel that really helps when you're a heavy heel striker or someone who rolls into their jump shot. So the cushion on the Trae Young 1 is a really good setup for shifty guards and shifty wings just because it is really low to the ground and stable, but you also have good impact protection, a nice subtle plushness and underfoot comfort, and of course some additional boostiness in the heel. The materials aren't exactly the most premium, but they definitely get the job done because they are pretty soft, but it's actually pretty supportive as well. And then for the fit, that's probably like the second most surprising aspect on the shoe because it just has like 2 lace loops, but it does really fit well in spite of that, and that is just kind of amazing because technically it doesn't even need the laces. You also have good support, and that kind of works hand in hand with it being really low to the ground, and it also has a pretty good aesthetic. I mean, the shape does take some time to get used to, but they definitely have a lot of super fire colorways, and that's definitely a plus in my book. It also is pretty inexpensive when you compare it to other signature shoes, and the only actual reason why it doesn't get the #1 spot is because Puma Philippines kinda sucks and takes long to get stuff here, because at #1 and the best basketball shoe of 2021, we have the Puma Clyde All Pro. I know this might be a little bit weird for the people in the US or in Europe or maybe in Hong Kong, but Puma here in the Philippines just really sucks because they take forever to get the new shoes over here, and I'm not really sure why, because a lot of people here are really interested in the new Puma shoes like the Lamellos, which we still don't have here, and that's really the only reason why it's on the 2021 list, and that's the only reason why it's on the 2021 list, because I didn't really get these until early in 2021, and since it did miss out on my 2020 list, I definitely had to put it here because it's way too good of a shoe to not be in any top 5. The Puma Clyde All Pro is just, in my opinion, the undisputed best basketball shoe of this year, and if I had to describe the shoe in one sentence, I'd probably say that it's like the Kobe 9, but better. The traction with the crisscross pattern here at the heel, and the sort of hardwood floor pattern in the forefoot with that pivot point underneath the ball of the foot will just work wherever you go. I mean, you could play on like a dusty wooden court, a dusty concrete court. It just really doesn't matter. This thing just grips like crazy on whatever surface you're playing on. Then for the cushion on the Clyde All Pro, it does have your Pro Foam Plus, and this was actually such a revelation because prior to this, Puma's cushion has been kind of lackluster and pretty dense, pretty dead feeling, but with the Pro Foam Plus, it was an absolute game changer in my opinion because it does feel like Lunarlon or Cushlon from Nike, but just make it more bouncy and more durable. It was definitely such a joy to play in because that cushion is full length, it's pretty smooth, it's soft and comfy underfoot, it's pretty responsive, and has a surprising amount of bounce back for a foam cushion. Then the upper isn't the most premium thing in the world, but it is pretty durable with that stitching over top. It will move well with your foot and provide adequate support. It also has really comfy and thick padding, and the materials honestly just get better and better the more that you wear them. The fit is also perfect. I mean, it's pretty one-to-one without any dead space. The support is also really good. You have all of the support features you need, and the aesthetics really do grow on you, especially knowing that you have such a beast of a shoe on your feet, and they also have been coming out with more and more colorways. It also does come at a good price, and now that they've been like in circulation for more than a year now, and also since it is a Puma basketball shoe, you can really get these pretty cheap, so I would like double up on these if you really just want the best performing basketball shoe of 2021. So those were the top 5 shoes. So at number 5, we had the Nike Zoom GT Cut. Number 4 was the Jordan 36. Number 3 was the Nike KD14. Number 2 was the Adidas Trayon 1. And at number 1, we had the Puma Clyde All Pro. Then for a sort of minor awards, you do have the most disappointing shoe of 2021, and that would no doubt be the Harden Volume 5. The Harden Volume 5 did get a lot of people, including me, pretty hyped because it did have a light strike midsole and a boost drop in midsole, so that was just super exciting. We were just like the Dame 6 and the Dame 7 have light strike, and those feel really nice, so I wonder how it feels like with boost, and we were just all kind of expecting like the most amazing thing in the world, and they ended up just caging up the whole cushion and just making the shoe super plasticky and stiff, and that was the end of that. I really hated trying to test those out. It was one of the stiffest shoes you could ever have. It was super hard to break in, and even if you did break it in, it wasn't any fun to play in. There was quite a bit of heel slippage as well because it was so stiff, and it was just one of the biggest disappointments. I mean, it rivals the KT6 last year. So hopefully with the Harden Volume 6 that comes out in like January, I think, Adidas and the Harden signature shoe line get to redeem themselves because the Volume 5 was just an absolute dud. Then moving on to the best retro of the year, I did kinda cheat because these are 2 shoes, and my definition of the best retro is something that's actually a retro of a shoe that released in the past. So I'm definitely not gonna count like the Amamani 3s or the Travis Scott 1s. Those are more of like hype collabs, and like they're retros but they're collabs, so I don't really consider those. Those are really nice shoes though, don't get me wrong, but they're definitely not my cup of tea. So for my best retro, or 2 of the best retros of 2021, we have the Jordan 6 Carmine and the Jordan 11 Cool Grey. The reason why I give these the top spot is because they're much closer to the OG than we've ever had in the past. The Jordan 11 Cool Grey has that 1995 shape, that cool grey colorway from 2021, and you have that Jumpman finally facing the right way. The materials are also really nice on this pair, and for my pair personally, even though they did make a lot of pairs, the craftsmanship is actually really nice, and I have no complaints with my shoe. It also did take them 10 years to retro these again, So it's definitely something that was much awaited, and I'm happy to say that Jordan did deliver. Then for the Jordan 6 Carmine, I put it on the list because this is the first time that we had the Nike Air on the back, and the Carmine is just such a beautiful colorway of the Jordan 6, and there's really nothing I can complain about with this shoe. I mean, the materials are pretty much how they've always been, a synthetic leather with this smooth finish, and this nubuck that isn't the most premium per se, but is still definitely an iconic feature of the Jordan 6. So these two would definitely be my retro of the year, and a quick runner-up would probably be the Adidas Forum, but the thing is I didn't get that OG white and blue colorway, so I can't really comment on it that much. But for the new colorways that I got, the Adidas Forum 84 is definitely a really nice retro. So there you have it guys, those are my top 5 basketball shoes of 2021, as well as the most disappointing shoe, and the best retro of 2021 as well. Once again, if you do like the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you haven't already yet, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon for notifications. And as always, whether you're looking for that retail win or you're copying one of the top 5 shoes of 2021, just keep on hunting.